and because of the growing need of other concerns in this country, that this is not becoming the main issue in America anymore.
That's going to have to be the last word. Warren Ballentine, Martha Zoller. I'm so glad we had this time together. Everybody tugged their ear at once.
Happy Easter, guys.
Thank you. Happy Easter. We appreciate it. All right, now it's time to talk about the drive time buzz this week. Conservative commentator Chris Plant joins us. He is in Chicago, and attorney and syndicated radio host Warren Ballentine, Raleigh, North Carolina tonight. Thank you very much. Let's start with discussing David Souter. The talk here, Warren, is that it's going to be a woman, and some are hoping that it might be even an African-American, maybe an African-American woman, and then everybody be happy.
Well, Don, I'm going to tell you what. I mean, if we can predict this, you know, it's like playing a lottery. You know, I don't think you can make a prediction here. It's a lot of qualified individuals, both men and women. I think if you look at the makeup of the Supreme Court now, you would want to put a woman in there, preferably an African-American woman. Maybe the judge is out of Georgia. I can't think of her name right now, but she's on the appellate court down there in Georgia. She has a fantastic track record. With Arlen Specter coming over, you know, President Obama probably may have a filibuster-proof nominee when he gets the nominee.
Well, you were talking about Leah Ward Spears, who Sears, I should say, Sears, who is the 6 of the people who they believe are the front runners for all of this. How concerned are conservatives about this, Chris, about someone who they see as left-leaning and liberal being placed on the court?
Well, you know, Barack Obama is the president of the United States, so you're pretty much guaranteed to have somebody liberal and left-leaning. I don't think anybody has a problem with that. Those are the consequences of the election. The way that you described it, Don, coming in, there will be no men considered for the job. There will be no Caucasians considered for the job. So it's all about race, class, and gender.
That's not how I described it. What I'm saying is
we're excluding. Look, this is all the talk. You know it is, and we're looking for a woman. We're looking for a minority. There's Sonia Sotomayor, who is an apparent front runner. And if we're excluding all men and we're excluding all Caucasians and we're looking at it by race and by gender, then, you know, then that's what we're going to get if that's the game we're going to play. You know, if a Republican were saying, well, we're certainly not going to choose any women and we're only going to choose white people, we're not going to choose any minorities, that would be an outrageous
Well, that's exactly what George Bush did. That's exactly what George Bush did, Chris. What's amazing to me is this. When you look up the makeup of the Supreme Court, what people are saying is that we need to put a woman on there for some balance. She doesn't have to be an African-American woman. It just needs to have a woman on there for balance. It's not about race, and it should be about gender, because the Supreme Court, as an attorney, I can tell you this, Chris, the Supreme Court should make up all of us, not just a group of white men or a black man that's more conservative than a white man.
I'm not saying it should be, Warren, I'm not saying it should be made up of all white men. I'm saying that when you're looking for people to fill the slots on the Supreme Court, you should look at them as jurists, not based on their race or their gender. I thought that's what we were aspiring to. Secondly, I'd like to point out that
Justice Ginsburg said the same thing. Justice Ginsburg said the same thing about not having more women on the court.
Well, it's not, I mean, it shouldn't be about race and it shouldn't be about gender. You should look for the most qualified person. Secondly, the African-American on the court, Clarence Thomas, was appointed by a Republican. Sandra Day O'Connor was appointed by a Republican. If I remember correctly, it was the left and liberals that ripped Clarence Thomas limb from limb because he wasn't the right kind of African-American.
I think that they were,
Am I right?
I think that they said
they were right to do that, in my
Hang
opinion.
on, let me jump in here. I think the concern is that Clarence Thomas was more conservative than most African-Americans, and they're saying that most African-Americans don't feel represented by someone like Clarence Thomas. But Deval Patrick is also on there. He is a man. He happens to be African-American. There are Caucasian women who are listed, who are on this list. So no one knows exactly. And if you look at it, it's a very diverse group of people, except, yes, there aren't any white men. But how many white men are already on the court? That's the question.
Well, and we want, as I understand it, one of the priorities is someone that brings empathy and real-world experience, as though judges and jurists don't experience the real world as the rest of us do. You know, if we're looking for somebody with empathy, maybe Dr. Phil would be available.
Okay, stop. Hey, let's. We're going to have to stop it here because this could go on. This is a very good conversation you guys are having about this, and I appreciate that you being so excited, especially you, Chris. Let's talk about torture. Condoleezza Rice out speaking today, and she brought up torture. Someone asked her about it, and she answered. Let's take a listen.
But he was also very clear that we would do nothing that was against the law or against our obligations internationally. And so the president was only willing to authorize policies that were legal in order to protect the country. And I hope people understand that it was a struggle. It was a difficult time.
Condoleezza Rice speaking today, guys. I really have just very short time here. Chris, I'll give you 10 seconds, and Warren, the same thing. She's still standing behind the president when a lot of people are saying, hey, some people in this administration should be prosecuted.
Should I go first?
Yeah, I was talking to you, Chris.
President Obama ordered 3 men, Somali pirates, to be shot in the head in order to protect one life a couple of weeks ago, and he's a hero for it. The 3 guys that had Perrier squirted up their nose are still alive and well, enjoying culturally sensitive meals 3 times a day, and thousands of lives were saved.
Warren.
Democrats were briefed on this ahead of time. Let's have a hearing.
If our American soldiers would have been treated like this, we'd have been crying. We'd have been crying bloody murder. Look, it's torture. They should be prosecuted and end the subject. Next subject. The Republicans
Our soldiers are decapitated. Okay. Our soldiers are decapitated and mutilated.
Chris, thank you very much. Warren, thank you. I'm not sure if I get the analogy of waterboarding and torture or with the American hero who was saved by you know, our armed forces, but we appreciate you guys.
Three guys.
Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. And for the most unbelievable